We're going in what? 5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
Hi, we're talking about shoes.
We're talking about dance shoes.
And first up, we have the Jordans, black and white, mainly talking about the black and white high tops. We do have all 3 versions here. What is our first criteria?
So our first criteria for the Jordan black and white 2.0s, we should say, is comfort and fit. With this criteria, you can add some, like, how does it breathe?
Sure. So what do you mean by comfort and fit? And then I'll answer first.
For comfort, I really just mean, like, how does it feel on the floor as you're stepping down onto it? Is it comfortable? Is the shoe comfortable to have on your foot? Fit more just means, like, what kind of foot does it fit best? Is it narrow? Is it wide? That sort of thing. Nice.
So comfort and fit. Okay, so and we're rating these on a scale of 1 to 10. Or like 0 to 10?
0 to 10.
If something's egregiously awful, we'll give it a 0.
If the time comes.
10 scale. So, comfort and fit. So I would say for these black and white high tops, comfort's really high. And they are definitely, like, the care that went into them is shown, like, there's padding. It's not just plain leather, like this is soft and padded here. These versions, like, I had the first gen, so they didn't have zippers, but the versions with the zippers have, like, this flap to keep the zipper from getting stuck in your pant legs or whatever. The leather's very soft. They do take a little bit to break in, but they're super comfortable to wear. And I would say that, like, for me personally, comfort and fit, like a 9 out of 10, like really high. Not like perfect for me, but very high up there. It doesn't have a super narrow toe box. It is a bit snub-nosed. There's plenty of space for your foot. I have pretty wide feet. They work fine for me. What would you say your overall impressions?
Comfort. Yeah, so as far as comfort goes, I would rate these at about a 9-ish out of 10. So
why do we need a number?
Really,
exact number.
Hard number.
Hard number.
I would say a hard 8.9. No, probably a hard 9. I think that it's really hard to get more comfortable than these shoes. I would say that, like, they're slightly narrow in the toe box. So if you have a very wide foot, it might not be comfortable, but I have a medium wide foot, I think. And so you said you have a wider foot, and they still work.
They still work just fine, yeah. Like, it's not a wide toe box shoe, but if you have wide feet, they'll probably fit just fine. There's plenty of space for the arch. If you have high arches, they're not going to pinch on the top, all this stuff. It's pretty universally comfy.
Yeah. And I've worn these for the last 2 years. I social dance in them, compete in them, whatever, for hours on end, and they feel really, really nice on the foot. Especially the sole itself just feels really cushy, like kind of like a cloud. But it's really nice to sit in for, or stand in for a long period of time. So that's another thing. It doesn't just kind of fit well, and it's obviously made with really high quality materials in every way. But it actually does feel good to stand in.
It's actually comfortable.
It's actually comfortable to have on your foot, especially after it breaks in. That's the only thing I would add, is as you break these in, they're kind of weird to break in. Like, as you start, they start off a little clunky. I actually prefer, something that does feel hefty on the foot.
You like
substantial. I do like skate shoes, always have, and these fit the bill. But even putting these on at first, they feel a little bit clunky on your foot, but they break in really, really well. They mold to your foot, and then, like, it just takes a second for them to get, for the shoes to get to know your foot and your foot to get to know them. And it becomes really comfortable.
So let's talk about the break-in period. So I would say that, so we've got our black and white high tops, black and white low tops, and all black high tops. These are all kind of like 3 different variations of the same shoe. And I think this is probably the easiest place to even mention the others. The black and white high tops, they do have a very thick sole, and this will take a little bit longer to break in than the all black high tops, which have a thinner sole that's a little bit more like a normal dance shoe, is kind of the feeling. These feel more like a Converse or a skate shoe. Those feel more like a traditional dance shoe. It's still a high top. The leather's very soft on all these, but these will take longer to break in than the all blacks. When I got that pair of all black high tops, and I got this exact pair in 2017, I did wear them to compete 10 minutes after I bought them. My first dances on the floor were competitive, and they felt great already. Every version of these I've had, they do take a little bit longer to break in, maybe a few weeks of regular dancing, for the shoe to feel less clunky and able to articulate just however you would want it to articulate. What's the next criteria?
Cool. Next one's pretty simple. It's flexibility. Just like how well does the shoe flex
Sure.
on your foot as you push into the floor?
So, like on a 10 scale, I would give these like maybe a 3 or 4. It's not like a slipper or a sock or something. It's definitely more robust and solid. And this isn't like a negative thing or a positive thing. These are just definitely more solid and sturdy and less flexible than even something like a barefoot type shoe that I'm wearing, where like this can roll up into a little ball very, very easily. So the Jordans definitely. What's up?
3 or 4. Hard.
3.5. 3 or 4. I'd give these a 4 out of 10 on the flexibility scale. Yeah. Cool. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Like, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just what you prefer in terms of how robust it is on the floor. So I definitely prefer something a little bit. It's not stiff, but definitely stiffer than like a sock or being in your bare feet.
You're not gonna. These aren't point shoes. You know.
It's not
like
point shoes.
yeah.
It's definitely not point shoes. So as a follower, maybe that's a consideration. But especially as a leader, anyway,
I can't point my toes in any shoes. So.
Yeah, I can't point anyway.
Yeah.
So like, I don't care.
Great excuse.
But I tend to like something a little bit more robust, a little bit more like a skate shoe. With that being said, they are like pretty damn flexible. They feel really nice on your foot, and they get super, super soft.
These are very soft.
So all over the leather and even the sole itself softens up over time. It's just not going to feel like a sock. So I would also give it about say like a 4. A hard 4.
A 4. And talking about kind of like how flexible the shoe is, I do think there are kind of 2 alternate dance shoes you could potentially look for. And one is, do I really want this to feel almost like I'm dancing barefoot, or like closer to dancing barefoot? And that would be like your minimal shoes, your wide toe box shoes, things like that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, okay, I want this to feel like a tool that I'm using. Like, it doesn't feel at all like my bare feet. And with these, like, you feel ankle support if you want it. If you want to set it up that way, we'll talk more about that later. You can feel the edges of the shoe. It definitely weighs something. We'll talk more about that later. But like, there are all these aspects that make it a tool that you are using rather than something that like you might not even notice you're wearing, similar to dancing in socks or barefoot or something like that. Yeah.
Wise words.
What's the next one?
Grip and traction or speed.
Okay, so these can be very fast shoes. The suede they come with is definitely high quality, and it can get very fast. So when I was wearing these regularly, I didn't brush them, but I scuffed my feet on the sidewalk a lot, and that kept them from getting too fast. I would say these are definitely on the faster side. Like the suede can get quite like very, very smooth. I don't think you've ever brushed. These are Nick's pair right here.
Absolutely.
You've never brushed them ever. I can almost see my face in them. So they're very fast. I would give these like it's not like dancing on glass, but like it's like especially on a comp floor, these can get pretty fast. You can do moves where you like jump and slide just fine across the floor, like on the sole of the shoe. I would give these probably an 8 out of 10 in terms of speed, with 10 being like super slippery and 1 being like I'm wearing hiking boots or something like that.
Word.
Or a 0 being hiking boots, yeah.
Word. Yeah, these get super slick. I don't brush my shoes almost ever unless I'm maybe physically forced or bribed or something like that. Yeah, so I don't really brush these. They get super slick. I would say most of the Jordans do. It's super high quality suede, but it will get very, very slick over time. So yeah, I'd give it like a 8 out of 10. Just because they can get pretty fast, especially if you do any sort of like gliding or keeping your feet on the floor a lot, and you
it'll
don't
smooth right
pick
out
up your feet very much. Like, this is going to be a super sick shoe for that, just because you can keep your feet on the ground and they're like nice and slick. So
you won't feel like you need to pick your feet up to roll them at all.
Exactly.
There's not like a snag anywhere.
Yeah.
And I know dance shoes really aren't supposed to have that, but I mean some do. You might run into that issue with some. What do we got next?
Durability.
Ooh.
Durability.
Okay.
You want me to go?
Cool. I'll go.
Oh,
So let me think. So I actually sold my original black and white pair. They were starting to break down a little bit, and I had someone who really wanted them, and I wanted to, they really liked my shoes in the way, like, just that pair. So I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I think it was a student.
Was it Michael?
It was not. He asked about the sizing, but I did not give him his. He's like 4 sizes bigger than me. Anyway, No, common urban legend, Michael Horwath did not buy a pair of black and white Jordans for me.
Just so you all know.
Yes. So, but I got my first pair of black and whites in 2017. I do think, again, these are super, super well built. The stitching's great. The materials they use are top notch. So I wore them, I would say, very regularly, not all the time, for about 3 or 4 years. I also got this exact pair of all blacks in 2017. I wore them for a few years, on and off. I still occasionally wear them. Nick's worn this exact pair, at least for, I think, a couple months at one point.
Long time.
Yeah, so and it
It's like 8
still
months.
is entirely,
Yeah.
I think this one has a little extra moleskin on the sole, but like, they're entirely functional even after that amount of time. For me, I noticed the wear points were eventually, because I like lacing them pretty tight, eventually one of the eyelets tore for the shoelaces, and also, especially on the black and whites, which I wore outside of my pants, and I tucked the pants in, and I did Velcro them very tightly, like these buckles did eventually tear. Those things were kind of the fail points for me. Also, I do think the suede on all these, it is high quality. It does peel a lot and often. I am just not a fan of that for whatever reason. I mean, you're a bit more okay with this, and you'll talk about this in a second, but I did actually have it completely stripped and re-sueded by a cobbler. I had this on for like $20, and that suede stayed on it forever. So the shoe itself is extremely robust, and they will last almost indefinitely, like for years and years. But yes, the suede might eventually fall off. You can get that replaced very easily. Buckles, again, I just took it to a cobbler, and I was like, hey, this one tore. I want you to put something here that looks like this. And they did it, and from distance it looked just fine, and it was very functional in terms of keeping the Velcro straps on. And to some degree, yes, like if you always lace it up very tightly in the same place, eventually that might tear, again, after the course of several years. But these are extremely durable and robust. I don't think I've ever owned a pair of dance shoes that were more durable than these. I would give them a 9 out of 10.
Yes. It's a hefty number. Okay,
Yeah.
so I should start off by saying you would never want to be a shoe in my care. I treat my shoes like shit, and I'm...
Looks like something ate this.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to have to bring it up to the camera so that everybody knows what I'm talking about here. So there is this little bit there that started breaking off, but that is not...
Do you want to see the teething marks?
This is not the shoe.
These aren't mine. These are his.
Like,
There's
just
teething
to be
marks on
clear,
it.
Like I don't know if this happens to other pairs of shoes, but I throw these in my backpack.
And then you throw the
maybe
bag
at
against the
things,
wall,
at things,
run it over
if
with
the
your
time
car.
calls, I definitely do not treat any pair of shoes very well. So like I want to be upfront about that. So with that being said, it's kind of cool because the shoes are they're made really, really well. So like every single part of the shoe feels great. The 2.0s actually have like the zipper on the back, so you don't ever have to like retie the shoe. And that's really nice. And that has held up over time. So this is, I've been dancing in these, I mean,
Year and a half now?
about 2 years,
These ones?
close to 2 years, something like that. And then it's just really nice. There is a little flap in the back where this zipper goes so that it does make sure that, you know, your foot's comfortable and doesn't feel the zipper. That thing has held up over time through my sweat, through me, and I'm really surprised that it has.
These are very small zippers, and I was skeptical. The first thing I said when this version came out and I saw the zippers was like, those are going to break right away. No, they've held up really, really well. So
Yeah, it's sick.
titanium zippers or whatever we've got on the back here. And I also think that, you know, again, like if the zippers are robust enough that I think it would even spread out the wear of like constantly lacing and unlacing or relacing and pulling on the Velcro, which was the issue with mine that eventually fell apart. Yeah.
So these shoes, as Aris was showing, do have this issue of like
It peels right off so easily. It's
It
not
does
great.
peel off. I personally don't care, as I've stated before. I don't care at all about this stuff coming undone. You could just put some glue on it. You could re-suede it, whatever you want to do. I don't think it's a big deal. And then there's this stuff at the toe. Once again, I don't care. So I just keep wearing them, and it doesn't affect anything. But this rubber does pop off a little bit if you treat a shoe as badly as I do. So with that being said, I'd say the durability is probably somewhere around an 8 out of 10.
If you're nice to them, it's a no.
If you're nice to them, it might even be a 10. Who knows? But
The
yeah.
stitching is actually durable. Like it's peeling off here, as you can see. That did never happen with mine, maybe because I wasn't kicking rocks with my shoes or something.
People.
Kicking people in the face. But yeah, the stitching was sturdy on mine, was never an issue. I do think, again, with the suede, it peeled. I glued it, it peeled again. So I really, after I think about a year of struggling with that, I had it stripped off and just had a cobbler put some new suede on, and I was a fan of that choice. And I do still give them a 9, even with the slight suede issues.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
The next one up is super cool with this shoe to talk about. Most shoes won't have as much to say about. That's adaptability.
Adaptability. Is this the X factor or is this different?
This is different. This is just adaptability.
Okay. Adaptability, these are unique in that regard. Most high tops don't have a setup where you can lace literally all the way up to the very top of the high top. At some point, it just wouldn't be as reinforced up to this point, but these you could, if you wanted to, lace all the way up here. And I do think, so I actually wore the all blacks in a very different way than I wore the black and whites, and I laced the all blacks when I wore them below the crease of my ankle, and I wrapped the Velcro around the back. So it was very, very flexible. It was very, very soft. It really did feel more like the kind of slipper-esque shoe, especially with the thinner sole on the all blacks. Again, these kind of have the same, very similar like design, but the difference in sole thickness and material does affect the way they feel. So, but even if we're talking about just one of the versions, the fact that you can lace it easily above or below the crease of your ankle, the fact that you can Velcro it more or less tight around the front or just leave the Velcro off, makes this an extremely, extremely adaptable shoe. You can make it feel pretty much however you want. And you can also make it fit differently, just in terms of how tight you tie it. It could go under pants or over pants or leggings or whatever you're wearing. So I think it's really cool. Even just on the same night, the fact that you're essentially bringing 3 to 4 pairs of shoes in one is awesome, and I always loved that, and I was always mucking around with like the settings, I guess, on how I liked to wear them.
The settings.
So yeah, changing the settings all the time. It's like, yeah, and for me, like tactile sensation is really big in terms of like picking up skills and how I dance. So I do think that just being able to adjust it, like, oh, I want to have a little more drive, like from my foot, I want to feel like my ankle is a little bit more like, my foot's more attached to my shin and lower leg. Cool, I'm going to lace these up a little bit tighter, I'm going to Velcro around the front and pull it tight and like keep it almost like one piece, versus I really want to feel like more articulation in my foot and point my toe more, I'm going to lace it below the ankle, put the Velcro on the back. It's great. I don't know of another shoe, even high tops with Velcros, that have this level of adaptability. It's a 10 for me. There aren't other good shoes that can make it like
10.
this.
Perfect 10.
Perfect 10 for adaptability. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like you said, you can wear these a ton of different ways, however it makes you feel comfortable, really. As long as you're okay with the comfort and fit, you can kind of make these do whatever you want. Backflips, sitting.
Dylan's done backflips in it.
Yeah, that's true. He has.
I think he has.
This is a true thing. Dylan
He must
Luther,
have.
if you have done a backflip in these shoes, just
Please confirm.
Please confirm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sick. So you can wear these in a whole bunch of different ways. I have a friend that wears them with the tongue all floppy out in the front and then just super loosely everywhere else. And then I prefer to wear them just like with the straps here, but they don't actually do anything. It's just to keep them out of the way.
They can, though. They can. Like, if you Velcro them as tight as I did.
If you let them.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
actually quite supportive.
But yeah, I really like it to have it loose with all that ankle articulation, and then just keep everything else more or less just snug. But the lacing system does give you a really nice array of different ways to wear the shoe. So no matter how your dancing style works, as long as the overall comfort and fit works for you, then it should be something like a 10 out of 10. You can make this fit however you like. Yeah.
I'm actually going to show this
Oh,
here.
you're
So,
fucking
like,
with my laces.
I am. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
You can put it right
Those
back.
have been
That's
there.
kind of the
These have
point.
been here for 2 years.
I know. Well, now they're going to have a new home, maybe.
Okay.
So literally just something about the shape of the difference between this one, and this one. These three feel entirely different on your foot if you put it through these. I think most shoes don't have that. Again, even high tops. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that this one's set a little further back and it's still reinforced and there's this little like notch here. I don't know. But I do like, for me, wearing these is almost like wearing 3 different shoes. Like, it attaches to your foot completely differently, and I just think that's awesome. So that's why it got the perfect score and adaptability for me.
That's right. And for me as well.
Perfect.
10.
A 10.
10.
It's 10s. All right, what do we got
10,
next?
baby. So next is it's up for discussion. It's up for debate, but it's style or design. So I think
I do want you to
mostly
start
when
on
I
this
lean towards the style thing, my opinion is most shoes kind of go in vogue for about a year or so. and then they kind of fall out of vogue for a while. There's a couple classic shoes out there that have stayed more or less for the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. And these shoes are, it's really hard to put a number on this in terms of style. In terms of design, sure, like that's a 10 out of 10. But style, I think these were really, really popular for a certain amount of time. And I don't really know if they are anymore. There are definitely some people that wear them and make them look really cool and popularize them a lot. But right now, the current trend anyway, I don't know if they are still stylish. I see them kind of making a comeback. It's just going to depend on how your overall look matters to you, and if you want to put this on your foot as a
What's
tool
your
for
preference
style.
and bias? What's your bias?
So
and
my
what's your
preference
score?
and bias is that I've always worn big shoes. I grew up wearing big shoes or skate shoes, or like Michael Jordan's, not Jordan Frisbees, that were always big like this. So it always kind of fits my overall preference for style. So with that being said, I would give it something like I'd give it a 6 out of 10, even though personally in my heart and soul it's an 11 or something. But I think it really comes down to the person's preference. There's some shoes out there that anybody can wear and style well, and and for a lot of people, style doesn't even really matter that much. But if it does for you, then this really does have to be your style for it to work. So for that reason, I would give it a 6 out of 10.
So I'm coming at this from a super different perspective. So I tend not to like and wear bigger shoes a lot of the time. Other than Jordan's shoes, like dance shoes I've worn a really long time, super minimal shoes like this, Zeros, Biancas. I liked Ballos for a while. I liked Toms, Rivieras. A variety of like smaller and I guess sleeker and lighter shoe designs that were less chunky. But I still really liked the ways these looked on me and looked on my dancing. And again, I wore the all blacks too. I would say in the end, I prefer the black and whites just because of the feel of the shoe. But style-wise, I think that adaptability comes back into play here because no matter what type of pants you're wearing, you can probably make this shoe work with them. You can wear them under or over the pants. You can tuck them in. You can wear light or dark colored pants and it would work equally well. So I think these are definitely, if you like the look at all, and I do think there's a slight love or hate, if like you don't like the kind of snub nose chunky look, or you don't like that you can't point your toes at all, and it's a really big part of your dancing. Of course, you wouldn't want to wear these, but I do think that adaptability-wise, just the fact that they're well-made, they're relatively sleek, despite having a bit of a bulkier shape. Again, just having the black and whites here, and you can style them very differently, just in terms of just how you wear pants or leggings or whatever. I do think these are very stylish in terms of being able to suit your own personal style. If you like them all, I'd give them. Cool. Yeah.
All right. So next one is super simple, and that's weight. They're
Did it shake the
heavy.
camera?
It might shake. Yeah.
Oops.
Like, it's not going to be as heavy as a skate shoe or something like that.
They're lighter than they look, but they're still very heavy for dance shoes.
Yeah, they're way lighter than they look. Very heavy for dance shoes. I repeated what you said. So yeah, I would give it something probably 8, 9.
Yeah, for a dance shoe, these are some of the heavier dance shoes you'll come across. It's like an 8 or 9 out of weight, with one being like, I don't know, point shoes or something.
And yeah, it's not a sock. But with that being said, I actually really like a heavy dance shoe. I definitely prefer it. It just feels really nice on my foot. It's very grounding. So if this is your thing, it's really cool.
It feels very solid. As you can tell, we really genuinely like these shoes in almost every category. Even if you don't like heavy shoes, I'd still encourage you to try them on somewhere or borrow friends. Like, you might like them more than you think. I didn't think I would like shoes that were this heavy and bulky, and I really love the feeling. So, yeah, I would say in terms of how heavy a dance shoe can get, these are like a 9 out of 10 with 10 being, I don't know, what's the heavier dance shoe? Some kind of
like the
combat
King
boot type thing. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The Kings,
I don't know.
or maybe I haven't had the chance to try those. We do live in the same state. I'd love to try those on, Nick, given the chance. So, what do we got next?
The last one, which is super cool, the X Factor.
The X Factor. Do you want to start? I think you should start on this.
Okay, so the X Factor, like the special thing about these shoes is really that they really help your balance. I've been quoted and chastised and excommunicated for saying that dance shoes don't make you a better dancer.
Yeah, that's definitely wrong.
So a lot of people say that that I'm definitely wrong on that. And I didn't think that I was definitely wrong on that until I tried these shoes out, because they're just so cool in the way that they keep you flat on the ground. So they're very, very balanced shoes. And I think that really helped out a lot. And it changed maybe even the way that I dance. So I would say that is the most special thing about this shoe is it's super nice and grounded on the floor. And I've never tried another shoe that can even come close. So it's pretty sick. It makes me happy to talk about the shoe because it just makes you feel super balanced on the floor. As you're breaking it in, it feels a little weird. But the moment I put them on, I was like, oh shit, this is actually different, which is really cool. So that's the X Factor. The X Factor's got to be a 10 because I still haven't run across
we're pointing the X Factor? Okay.
Hell yeah, we're pointing the X Factor. Like the specialness of the shoe, right? So I think that's a 10 for me because I've tried on literally like 20 other shoes that don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no other shoe that can do that the way this one does. I've tried a couple that come close, which
I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for. I do think that in general, maybe people should be a little bit more aware of how different shoes and different even like the fit or cut of your clothes and how it feels in your body changes the way you dance and the way you feel in your body and the way your movement feels. There's a reason I've been wearing only flowy shirts to dance for like 2 years now. But yeah, I would say it's actually, I picked up the wrong one, but I would say it's actually very similar for me. Wearing these shoes in like 2018 very consistently did help me develop a lot of really good habits that I still carry in my dancing to this day. And I definitely wasn't getting those in other shoes. The ability to, like, if you just try to put these on and roll your foot and walk in place, yeah, it's not really going to do anything for you, but just the ability to ground yourself and push and, shovel your feet or do any kind of action that involves like high degrees of like directional intent in your foot articulation, these shoes are perfect for that. Again, especially with the ability to adjust how it fits on your foot, I do think these can very easily be adapted to help you work on different good habits in terms of your foot articulation, your leg drive, your leg movement as a leader or follower, tracing, which part of your foot you're tracing with, of course, a bunch of fancy footwork stuff. This isn't so much my forte, but like I think, Nick, it definitely accelerated your journey to do a lot of cool footwork stuff. The ability to have like just feel the edges of the shoe and balance on either the front or the back or even the sides with no limitations. So I'm not sure I could put a number on the X Factor, but it is very, very high in terms of like more so than almost any other shoe. Gallows might come close in terms of developing certain habits.
Did you say higher than a 9?
Would I say higher than a 9?
So like a 10.
I'm trying to think of what a 10 would be in terms of like the ability to develop good habits. I mean, everyone should dance barefoot more. I think barefoot is a 10 for learning good habits.
My feet suck. Put these on.
So we need the performance enhancer. Yeah, I think in terms of developing good habits, I will say no other shoe has done this for me. So I think I have to give it out of respect. So I do want to talk about the others just a little bit. Do you want to talk about the All Blacks for a minute? Because you actually have worn these a little bit. And these, again, I got these in September 2017. They're still holding up just great. I could put these on and dance today. Maybe I will. What do you think?
Cool. So the All Blacks I wore for almost a year. This was kind of the first shoe that I wore consistently and also liked. These shoes, just like all the other Jordan JT shoes, are just built really well to start. The moment you put them on, you feel like you're putting on something that's premium. And
it's like getting into a new sports car.
It's like that.
You close the door and it's like a thud. Like there's no rattling or anything. Like these are very well put together.
Yeah.
And these are Gen 1. So
oh, these are the Gen 1s.
Yeah. So these don't have a zipper in the back. Again, I got these in 2017. This is the first version of the All Blacks that they had. Very, very soft leather, very similar. Yeah.
I danced in the Gen 2s for a while, and then the Gen 3s I've put on. Those are the ones with zipper in the back, and they're all new and stuff. And those are the most similar to these, actually.
Comfort and fit, this is definitely still a 9, so same thing there. All the same advantages, it just has a slightly different sensation. Flexibility, these are, what did I give the other ones? Whatever it is, at least one number higher.
You gave the other ones a 4.
Oh, these are like a 7. Yeah, the thinner sole definitely has a lot more flexibility to it. Yeah, much higher up on that scale. Grip and traction, I would say this is the same speed. Again, like it's the same type of suede on the sole. It's just a slightly different sole, but like the traction is going to be the same. Durability, the same, very high rating, either 9 or 10, whatever I gave the other ones. They last forever. Style and design, also an 8. Again, very adaptable. I do think these are just kind of the same, but with a slightly different look. Again, it's a little more tapered, pointier, sleeker, more sleek, more pointed toe, lower profile. Looks more like a dance shoe. You could definitely wear slacks like over these, and people would just, it wouldn't look like a high top at all. So, whereas the others always kind of have a bit of a bulky look. So I would say like an 8 easily on that as well. Weight, these are going to be lower. What do we give the other ones? What did I give them? Like a 8 or 9? Yeah, these are like a 3 or 4. Despite being a high top, these are still lighter than a lot of other dance shoes that are just low tops. Very, very light, very flexible, very soft, like we said. And the X factor is the same, so that's my speed run on these. Slightly different scores on a few, but really, it is the same idea. Just if your preferences are different, you're going to like this one better in certain ways.
Yeah. So for the comfort and the fit for these, I would give it probably about a 10, just because they are more flexible. So they have the same amount of adaptability, but they are more flexible than the black and whites. So it's just, it ends up feeling like a much more comfortable shoe. It's not as robust, but it's definitely, it's lighter, it's more nimble, it's just nice on the foot. The flexibility is way higher, especially because I normally dance in the Jordans or other more stiff shoes. These feel like it's
soft.
about as flexible as you're going to get. It's not going to be like a sock or like a Tegra or something, but it's definitely going to be about an 8 for me. These are really, really flexible. The shank is still there. So
it's like a half shank.
Something like that.
Like there's structure on the back and the toe is very soft.
Yeah, and the toe is
less
as
structure.
soft as it's going to be. Grip and traction is the same. It's going to end up pretty fast. So it's going to come out to about an 8 or so on these for grip, traction, or speed. And I really like it as far as that goes, and just making it as fast as you want to make it. The durability is about the same. Again, I treated these shoes like shit for almost a year. Nothing
After
changed.
I'd worn them for like 4 years.
Wore them and maybe treated them better than I did for 4 years. And these definitely show signs of wear over that time. But that only adds to the character. It's super cool how well these hold up. It's just awesome.
Small point on the black and whites versus the all blacks.
Oh.
So because the sole isn't as thick, you are going to run into more shit with your toes, whether you're dragging your toes on the floor or bumping into things. So on the black and whites, like you'll actually bump into stuff with like the white part of the sole, and you can just wipe that off and have it be clean. But here it does wear it on the actual finish of the shoe itself. So I did notice that over time.
Yeah. And then for the style and design, like Emmeline has been wearing these how long?
I
Like
know.
they gotta be.
If Emmeline likes them,
If a leader and a follower can wear them, and then
true.
they can always look that good, it has to be a 10 for me.
These are more follower oriented for sure.
They are definitely more follower oriented, and it's really cool that a follower could put this in their arsenal or their quiver, or whatever you want to call it, and they're still going to look dope in most outfits. I'm not like I'm not a style person to talk to about that. Maybe you could say something more about that, but I think it's really cool that these are a true unisex shoe, whereas the black and whites are like they're a little bit stiffer, and I think
hard to point your toes, hard to have good technique in certain ways as a West Coast swing follower for sure.
And you can make it look super sick. Not to put anyone on blast here, but Sarah Van Drake made them look sick. Like,
Sarah, Nicole.
Nicole's name was sick.
There's an all-star in Australia, advanced all-star follower in Australia who's I've seen wear them, make them look really good. Olivia Burnstead can make these things look incredible. So yes, like if you have good enough feet as a follower, it can totally work. Yeah, it's limiting in some ways. The black and whites. Yeah, the black and whites. Anyone can wear the all blacks.
Right.
But if you're a follower, I think. But if you're a follower, you do need very, very strong fundamentals and a great understanding of how to use your foot and ankle to use the black and whites. And again, these are going to be a tool. You won't be able to point your toes like a sandal or a jazz shoe or something like that. But yeah, you can make them look great. So.
Yeah. And then the weight is going to be they're actually very, very light.
So light for a high top.
Crazy, yeah. They're very, very light for a high top, which is really cool to have two totally different types of shoes from JT. And then the X Factor, again,
Sure.
I wouldn't give it like a 10, but I would definitely give this a higher number because it can be worn by both lead and follow so well. And like that's
Good
I
point.
think anything above a
That's
5
true.
is like kind of sick as far as a rating goes with the X Factor. I'll give these a solid 7. It does come across as a basic dance shoe in a lot of ways, so that's kind of good or bad depending on what you're looking for. It maybe doesn't have that really special thing that does things really differently than other shoes,
Like
other
the black
than
and whites
being,
do.
like, hella adaptable. But with that being said, like a follow can wear them and any lead can wear them no matter what your style is. And then again, like he said, you could just put your pants over it and it's going to literally just look like a regular old shoe. So I think that deserves at least, do I have to have a hard number? I would say 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
The X Factor is pretty sick because it can do that.
So, like, I do think there are people who would say, even if you put your pants over it, this would not be as formal of a look of a shoe.
Right.
And these could easily look a little bit more formal just by putting the pants over it. Yeah, I do think they're still special. They fly under the radar a little bit because they're not as different as the black and whites from other dance shoes. But I really think it's unique in hitting that combination, kind of the in-between place of like, this is not a normal dance shoe, but it's not as different as the black and whites.
Yeah.
And really good points on lead versus follower. I can't think of, I mean, there are others coming out now, but I think this is the first shoe that kind of did it, I guess, in kind of my recent cultural memory of West Coast swing, that leaders and followers can equally like be comfortable in these shoes.
Yeah.
Other sneakers now and other high tops and stuff, but
So yeah, I think the X
very
Factor
middle
ends
of the
up fairly-
road.
Yeah,
High
middle
potential
of the
for
road.
lots of things.
Easy to use, easy to like.
Cool. So I do want to talk about these just a little bit. So you haven't really worn these. I wore these probably less than the others. Less than both the other two. I got these in December 2018. Didn't wear them as much. They still hold up just fine. Again, extremely robust. These are called the Lojos. I really campaigned hard for them to be called shorty Jordys. If Jordan saw my comments, he never responded. So the shorty Jordys, the unofficial, uncrowned shorty Jordys. It's like you can do a shorty George and your shorty Jordys.
I'm completely on board. Yeah.
Yes, especially because these do have a bit more of like a classic formal look. It does have a shiny capped toe, and it is a low top with like, it's shinier. These are more formal or dress shoe-ish looking. Lore drop, I got married wearing these shoes.
I think that counts for something.
That counts for something.
Definitely.
And I think they look pretty good. Anyway, so the ratings are going to be a little bit different. So comfort and fit. So the interesting thing for me is I do have, like I wear like roughly a size 41 Euro, 8, 8.5, 9, somewhere in there US, depending on the width. Because the sole is so thick, I do think that the shorter or smaller your foot is in the low top, it's going to be even stiffer than the other one. Like this is extremely stiff. It feels very chunky. I've joked that wearing these, for me, again, if I had a larger shoe size, I do think they'd be more flexible. Just because the sole would be the same thickness and it would be like longer and bigger. I've joked these feel like wearing clogs, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. I do love how stable they are, while being a little bit lighter than the other ones. I do think these probably have more weaknesses compared to the black and whites or the all blacks, just in my own personal experience. Comfort, I would say maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. These are not as comfortable as the others, again, to me, just in terms of like, I really think... Yeah, so...
I haven't worn these as much, to be fair, and I've only worn them on my feet a couple times, danced on them one song.
Just, I do think they're really tight. I think some of the shiny coating or material around the edge would sometimes rub on my feet, or around my ankles.
I didn't think about that.
Just because they were a bit smaller, I did have to take the insoles out of these for these to fit, but the size up was like too loose for me. So I'm kind of in a weird in-between place with these that probably contributed to the lack of comfort. These are not like a dance all night, every night type of shoe for me.
But could you dance all night in them?
Of course. Yeah, you could.
Okay.
For me, I would definitely, like, my foot would be a little bit beat up if I wore these for an entire convention weekend, let's say. But absolutely, like at a local social or for one night of convention dancing, sure, they're fine. Flexibility, far less flexible. If I gave the others, these would be like a 2? Like a 4 or a 5 out of flexibility.
I
Yeah,
thought
the others are way more
the black and white got like a 4 or something like
Yeah, these would be lower. These would be
Probably
like a
like a
3.
2.
These would be like a 3 or a 2. I wasn't kidding when I said these are like claws. Like I am flexing these pretty hard in my hands right now. They don't move much.
I think it has a half shank. It feels like that anyway. I'd have to fact check myself for sure.
I'm not sure if you can use shank for the black and white sole.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's one piece. I don't. It's one piece of perfect racing tire rubber. Yeah, so grip and traction, I do like these for that. They are a lower profile. You can do more slidey type stuff on the floor just because like these will be ultimately flexible on your ankle. For me, I even did lace them one notch lower. So it's just literally, it's tied to the front half of my foot and this entire thing just stays on just fine. So I love that feeling for these. Still fast, still high traction. Durability, I haven't worn these as much so I can't say, but the fit and finish is on par with the others, so I would say very high durability, 8 out of 10. Style and design, I would have these a little bit lower, like a 5 or a 6.
Really?
You need to like the shiny cap toe, and you need to like the low top look. Like these definitely look more formal. You could wear these with slacks or dress pants. They make less sense to wear with skinny jeans. I've done it. It can work. But they're definitely more of like a dress shoe type appearance. So if that's kind of the look you're going for, I think these are great for that. But they're definitely not as flexible design or style-wise as the other two. I think just because they're a little bit more adjustable and because they don't have, again, like a cap toe that kind of stands out in a certain way visually with like the shiny edges all the way around. Yeah, these are definitely dressier.
So like you have to like it.
Have to like it, yes.
Yeah.
Even more than the black and white high tops, these are very much a matter of taste and personal preference. I do think they're cool, not for me all the time, not for every like outfit or something like that, but I do still like the way they look. That's why I got them. I never thought I would like a cap toe shoe, but I do think these are cool.
And I actually would say that I saw these a lot, and I saw that the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jordan Frisbee,
Wears these
dancing.
He wears all of them a lot.
He does, and I was like, I don't know if I'd wear those. And then I saw them in person. I was like, those are kind of sick. So I haven't worn them a ton, but I'm just one of those people that actually ended up really liking the style once I had it in my hand. So.
Yeah, it is different seeing it in person versus online. I remember this was at TAP 2018, and I had the other pairs already. I had the black and whites, I had the all blacks. And they just come out with these, and I walk up to Jordan, he's got a table, and I'm all sweaty, I've just been dancing. I did a bunch of rounds of something, and they pick up the shoe, I'm like dripping on his table, I'm like, hey, like, sell me this shoe. And he's like, well, it's kind of similar to the other ones.
Like, sell me this pen. Like,
similar, yeah, I did
sell
pick it up.
I
said it to him just like that. I was like, hey, like, sell me this shoe. He's like, well, like, have you tried on the others? I was like, I own both the other ones. He was like, oh, well, it's the same as those, but, like, it's a low top. And I was like, here's my money. That was all it took. So, because once I picked it up, I was like, okay, yeah, these are kind of cool. I really never thought I would like this look or style for myself, but I thought it was great. They are extremely inflexible. It will definitely, like, you can do cool stuff with these that you can't do even in the other shoes because it's just like a block attached to your foot.
That is true.
You can push really hard, you can slide really easily, you can get on the edges even more so than the black and whites.
Yeah.
There is, of course, no ankle support. You can actually still kind of point your toe, and it does feel weird trying to point your toe with a block like this attached to the bottom, but it totally works, and you can do some footwork and styling options like sweeps and stuff with like a pointed toe very low to the ground that look very cool that you just can't do in other shoes.
Part of that, just the inflexibility, like after having worn them a couple times, is just like the leather is actually less flexible. Like I feel like that has got to be a big part of it.
I really just think it feels less flexible because they're not as broken in, and like it's all attached to the sole. Whereas with the high top, like the upper parts are maybe a little bit softer,
The heel feels very, very supportive.
It's extremely. These are definitely
super supportive.
Yeah, if you're a leader and you want a shoe that you can really like feel stable, push off of, it feels like it widens your center of gravity right away as soon as you get on it. Your heel can like be pushed from different angles down slot. I love it. Definitely lighter than the black and whites. I would actually say they're pretty similar to the all blacks in weight.
Give me that. Really?
Actually,
I would say they're pretty close. They're
both
very light.
So they're light, not unexpectedly so, because it's not like a high top, but this feels just like a normal dance shoe. X Factor, I do think it has a similar X Factor to a lower degree. Again, just the fact the sole, like the all white sole, really is unique. So And again, the fact that it's a low top, it's lighter, you can point your toes, you can push off, you can angle and feel the edges of the shoes. You can do different like styles of sweeps and stuff and slide on the floor really easily. I do think it still has an X factor where you can do more stuff in different ways that normal dance shoes just can't do. It's just to a slightly lower degree than the others because there aren't as many degrees of adaptability to it. So maybe like a 4 or 5, but there is an X factor to these shoes for sure. I would say some dance shoes are just like, it's a dance shoe. There's nothing really special about it.
Right, like an Oxford. But then
Sure.
like the
Well, that's
the
standard for
adaptability is like as opposed to the other two shoes, the adaptability is much lower.
Much lower.
Right.
Yes.
Like this is just a dance shoe.
Like a
It's
2
not-
or a 3. You can
Maybe.
change. Yeah, you can change
Maybe
the
like a 2.
laces, but you can do that on any shoe.
Right. So
Like,
like, more,
like a 2 out of 10 adaptability, while the others are like
Yeah.
a 9 or something. I
more
forget
than a
the number.
loafer, obviously, just because it has laces. But like it didn't feel very adaptable to me at all.
No, it's definitely you're choosing this setting and you're gonna stick with it.
Yeah. So I think as far as all the JT swing shoes, though, like the one cool thing that I could say across the board
Yeah.
is that
They feel different.
when you arrive, when you arrive to the JT swing shoe, all of them actually do feel like they feel like they're built with truly premium materials, and it's nice to be able to pay that amount of money and say like this is a premium product, and I really do like that. I spend over $220 every 3 months or so on climbing shoes, and I wear through them routinely. So then if you tell me I have to pay I don't know what it is now.
170, I think, on the site, something like that.
Sure, yeah, and it's like, oh, but it's going to last 4 years.
They'll last forever.
It's really cool for me to have it arrive and see that it's built super well after having purchased climbing shoes for, I don't know, 15 years and
Sure.
having the same thing happen where they arrive and you're like, oh, this is good. This is a truly well built thing, and I really like how all three of them are
They have-
super different, and it's kind of cool to be able to offer that.
Yeah, and like they have all the same, like it's the same vibe, but they do feel different.
Yeah.
And they're all again like super high quality, definitely a labor of love. Every little
Yeah.
detail has care built into it. The places it's reinforced, the way the stitching is, the materials they've chosen. Yeah, and I mean just I've heard that Jordan always really wanted like a high top purpose built dance shoe. So he built them himself after years and years of time spent designing them. And now we have these 3 versions that are all really good. Honestly, they're all really good. They're all worth it, I do think. So when I got mine, they were $140. I do think with inflation, that was probably even more expensive than they are now. They are worth it. They will last. I think at least try them. Like I'm a huge fan, as you can tell, we both are. These are great shoes.
Oh, and the last thing I have to say is
yes.
like, dude, dealing with them is super cool. Dealing with Jordan Tot, buying these shoes is actually sick. Like they
The
are
customer
so,
service.
They're fucking professional.
I'm not gonna tell you the details of what they did for me because of that's but they do go above and beyond. It's very very cool.
They
do care.
awesome to deal with. You want to do business with the people, and I was like, this is so cool.
They make it easy. They make it really easy to try. And if you don't buy them, it's fine. Like they will put in the effort to see if you even like them, and I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Jordan and Tatiana have been incredible to work with in terms of how they do these. And I mean, it's been a struggle. Like there have been shoes I've really liked with people who I really want to support, and it was just hard to get in touch with them, hard to deal with them. So that's a total aside, but getting these even just to try is a pretty easy process. So I would encourage everyone to at least give them a shot and see if you like them. You might be surprised.
So
we're going to talk about definitely other kinds of shoes. We're going to rate them on a similar scale. The ratings will not be as high, probably. Spoiler alert, or we might disagree more. But we just wanted to start with these because we've both had a lot of experience in these shoes. A lot of people were asking us about them. So this is kind of like our very long-term review from 2 very different dancers and very different like style preference human beings. We both really like these shoes. So we had to start with these.